John Harper sat by the bay window of his Illinois home, watching the autumn leaves tumble down his neatly manicured lawn. The house, once filled with laughter and companionship, now echoed only with silence. His wife, Margaret Harper, had passed away 3 years ago, leaving him with memories too painful to revisit, yet impossible to ignore. At 49, John still carried an understated charm. His short, graying hair framed a rugged face marked with faint lines of both joy and sorrow. His fortune, inherited from Margaret's thriving real estate business, offered him every material comfort but did little to fill the void in his heart. Friends encouraged him to travel, to join clubs, to put himself out there, but John found solace in the quiet routines of his life. Across the Atlantic in Lagos, Nigeria, a young woman named Ada East was preparing for a different kind of future. At 30, she had dreams of success that extended far beyond her homeland. Intelligent and ambitious, Ada had left Nigeria in 2016 on a student visa to pursue a master's degree in the U.S. Her family had pooled their resources to send her abroad, believing in her potential. Only 5% of those who watch my videos are subscribed. If you are enjoying my contents, please subscribe, as this helps me a lot. Thank you, and enjoy this video. Ada Easy stood near the bar, her slim figure draped in a vibrant yellow dress. Her deep brown eyes scanned the crowd with the confidence of someone who knew how to make an impression. When their eyes met, she offered him a warm smile. "Good evening," Ada said, extending a hand. Her voice was smooth, her Nigerian accent adding a melodic rhythm to her words. "I'm Ada. And you are?" "John," he replied, surprised by the flutter in his chest. Their conversation flowed effortlessly. Ada spoke of her upbringing in Lagos, her love for literature, and her admiration for the evening's charitable cause. John found himself laughing at her anecdotes and marveling at her charm. For the first time in years, he felt truly seen. Ada, for her part, was calculating every word. She had attended the gala with one goal: to meet someone who could change her circumstances. John, with his poised demeanor and air of affluence, fit the profile perfectly. Over the following months, John courted Ada with an intensity that left her both flattered and overwhelmed. He sent her thoughtful messages each morning, brought her small tokens of affection, and listened attentively as he spoke about Margaret and his years of loss. John was cautious at first, but Robert encouraged him to embrace the possibility of a new chapter. "I haven't seen you this happy in years," Robert remarked one evening over dinner. "Maybe it's time to let yourself live again." Ada's charm extended to John's social circle, but not everyone was convinced. Robert noticed the slight, rehearsed quality in her affections and the way she deflected personal questions about her past. Still, John dismissed his concerns. "She's kind, attentive, and she understands me," John insisted. "I think Margaret would have wanted me to move on." By the spring of 2019, John proposed. The moment was picturesque. A quiet evening in John's garden, with fairy lights twinkling above them. "I want to spend my life making you happy," John said, sliding a diamond ring onto her trembling finger. Ada accepted, tears streaming down her face. Their wedding was a modest but elegant affair. John, resplendent in a navy suit, looked radiant despite his nerves. The guest list was small, limited to close friends and family. Robert stood by his side as best man, his smile warm, but his eyes wary. For Ida, the wedding was a calculated triumph. She had secured her path to legal residency, but she knew the real work was just beginning. To immigration authorities, their marriage would have to appear flawless for at least 2 years before she could apply for permanent status. The early months of their marriage were idyllic on the surface. Ada immersed herself in John's world, accompanying him to church functions and dinner parties. She even took on home improvement projects, painting walls and refurbishing furniture to impress his friends. John, who had spent years in solitude, reveled in the companionship. He often confided to Robert, "I feel like I've been given a second chance." But behind closed doors, Ada's resentment simmered. She found John's routines stifling, his constant reminiscing about Margaret exhausting. It was during this period that Ada met Tunde, a Nigerian expatriate and entrepreneur in Chicago. The Nigerian Independence Day Festival brought Ada to an event where she and Tunde were introduced. Tunde, a 29-year-old businessman with a magnetic personality, was immediately drawn to her. Their connection was instant and electric, and Ada quickly began a covert affair. To Tunde, Ada portrayed herself as a woman trapped in an unhappy marriage of duty. "John is a kind man, but we were never meant for each other," she told him one evening. Tunde, believing her story, sympathized and encouraged her to follow her heart. As Ada juggled her double life, John began noticing subtle changes. Ada grew more distant, spending hours away under the pretext of business opportunities. When John voiced his concerns, Ada deflected with charm, assuring him that she was merely preoccupied. By 2021, Ada had obtained her conditional green card, but she was growing impatient. Her disdain for John deepened, and she fantasized about a life with Tunde, unencumbered by the charade. Divorce, however, was not an option. It would cast suspicion on the legitimacy of her marriage and jeopardize her residency. Ada's plan to escape was as cruel as it was calculated. Each morning she prepared John's coffee, a ritual he cherished as an act of her love, and added a minuscule amount of poisoning of John. As Ada continued her cold, calculated poisoning of John, her confidence grew. The poison worked as planned, mimicking the symptoms of a degenerative illness. Over the months, John became frailer, his once robust body wasting away. Fatigue turned into neurological symptoms that baffled his doctors. John's physician, Dr. Samuel Woods, ran a battery of tests but found no clear cause. He grew increasingly concerned about John's rapid decline. Meanwhile, Ada played the role of the devoted wife perfectly, attending every appointment, taking meticulous notes, and offering her unwavering support. But one person wasn't convinced: Robert. He noticed how detached Ada seemed in private moments, and how her actions often felt performative. Over coffee one afternoon, Robert confided to his wife Susan. "I don't trust her," he said. "Something about this doesn't sit right with me." Susan agreed to help Robert keep an eye on Ada. Meanwhile, Dr. Woods, frustrated by the inconclusive results, decided to run an advanced toxicology screening. When the results came back, they revealed traces of a rare toxin not commonly found in nature. Concerned, Dr. Woods reported his findings to the authorities. The police began a quiet investigation. They reviewed John's medical records and financial history, uncovering suspicious purchases made by Ada, including items linked to hazardous substances. When detectives examined her search history, they found chilling queries like undetectable poisons and natural causes of death through poisoning. Ada, oblivious to the investigation, continued her affair with Tunde. She spoke openly about a future together, promising that her difficult situation would soon be resolved. Tunde, however, started to sense inconsistencies in her stories. When detectives approached him, he was shocked to learn the truth and agreed to cooperate. By the spring of 2022, John's condition had deteriorated to the point where he was bedridden. Ada maintained her facade, but Robert grew more vocal about his suspicions. One evening, while visiting John, Robert confronted Ada. "What's really going on, Ada? Why isn't John getting better?" Ada feigned outrage. "How dare you question my loyalty to my husband? I love him, and I'm doing everything I can for him." Robert left unconvinced, but his confrontation rattled Ada. She began considering accelerating her plan. But before she could act, the police intervened. Detectives executed a search warrant on the Harper home, finding incriminating evidence in Ada's private belongings, small vials of the toxin, along with detailed notes about dosage and symptoms. Ada was arrested in the middle of the night, her composure finally cracking as officers led her away. Tunde, devastated by the betrayal, provided critical testimony that corroborated the timeline of her actions, and her actions signaled bureaucrats who knew their applications would lead to more. John, though gravely ill, was relieved when the truth came to light. Dr. Woods and a team of specialists worked tirelessly to detoxify his body. While John would never fully recover, he lived to see justice served. In court, the evidence against Ada was overwhelming. Her cold, calculated actions and her lack of remorse horrified the jury. She was convicted of attempted murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. John, though physically weakened, regained his spirit. He donated much of his wealth to charities supporting vulnerable immigrants and victims of abuse, ensuring that Ada's betrayal would have a meaningful legacy. Robert and Susan remained by his side, helping him rebuild his life. Though scarred by the ordeal, John found solace in the love and support of his community. His story became a powerful reminder of the dangers of unchecked ambition and the strength of those who fight for justice. If you enjoyed this dive into the mystery, don't forget to subscribe to True Crime OCS for more chilling stories from history's darkest corners. Drop your thoughts, theories, and questions in the comments below. Let's untangle the truth together. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.